Hello, women of the Channel Leadership Network, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. I am so happy to introduce you to Rebecca Klein, who is the Inside Sales and Program Strategy working with the Strategic Partner and Alliances Group of Hitachi Vantara. Hey, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks so much for having me. This is an honor.
Well, we are really excited to get to know you. So how about we start off a little bit easy and just ask, where do you live and where did you grow up, if that's different?
So I lived right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been here through all of my career, but I did not grow up here. I grew up in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is in the mountains. People are mostly familiar with Asheville. So in that area.
Yeah, I love Asheville. I got to go there with my husband once and then do the castle. The Biltmore.
Grove. Okay, yeah. There's the Biltmore and then there's the Grove Park Inn.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. If you don't mind sharing, what's a little known fact about you?
So I think it's interesting to work in technology, and then I think back on my childhood, which was being raised on construction sites and running around on farms. So in a very kind of a Renaissance era, very Darwinesque upbringing, where it's kind of like if you showed up for dinner, you got fed. Very unstructured childhood that didn't have anything to do with technology. I would say that it inspired a lot of creativity and being able to, just being around and in those environments did expose me to a lot. But I had what would be considered a very country upbringing.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm going to start off with something that I guess maybe as women, sometimes we don't like to talk about ourselves. So I'm just going to throw one out there for you. And how about, if you don't mind, sharing some business accomplishments that you are most proud of?
Yeah, that is something in multiple sessions where as women, we aren't great at advocating for ourselves. And I went through an experience while redoing my resume where I had to write out all of this, like challenge, what did you do? What was the results? And turned it over to a firm who came back to me. And I was like, wow, she's a superstar. And, reading the way they took what I wrote, very factual, and turned it into the things that I had done was very eye-opening to me. And, in that same vein, in conversations that I've had, like with coaches and whatnot, where they kind of will label you, one of the labels that I've been given is trailblazer. And when I look at areas of accomplishment where I'm most proud, it would be when I'm taking on the unknown. So it's really gravitating towards new experiences and taking on new challenges. And ultimately that's building out programs, teams, systems, processes, where there's really not a recipe, where nothing's really existed before. I would use as a recent example, at Hitachi, I established our Partner Technical Ambassador Club, which is essentially a community that connects our technical leaders and experts from our partners to individuals in our product groups, engineering, as well as our technical experts internally at Hitachi. I designed and launched that program in 2020 it was right after COVID. So initially it was supposed to be about 40 or 50 people, very high touch, in-person type of event-oriented community. We ended up having to move it all online. So we started with about 100 people. Today, that's doubled in size. We have over 200 members globally. And, when I was establishing that community, I heard quite often, oh, we've tried this before, it hasn't worked. Kind of a pat on the back, good luck. Mm-hmm. And now today, that group is well known internally. That community is frequently sought after for advice and feedback around our solutions. as well as our product features. They're the ones that we go to engage in our beta programs. They're given free GA access to roadmaps, content, and essentially they're treated as an extension of our internal technical teams. And that was really fun to set up. It was also fun to hand off. Like I like to set it up and then hand it off, and now it's in someone else's hands who can take it through its next evolution.
Love that. And you were definitely speaking my language on processes and starting new things. Like I definitely enjoy that aspect as well.
And I like to set it up and like really like try things out. And then once it's established, it does go into a run mode, and that's when it's better suited for someone else to take it through its next evolution. That's kind of one of those things that you end up learning about yourself, like where do you fit? And I'm definitely that early stage.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Have you ever questioned your abilities and qualifications?
I think we all have. I think everybody goes through some sort of, what if I'm found out? When I attended the Women of the Channel event in New York just over a year ago, 2021, I heard the term imposter syndrome. I had never really heard that before, but it definitely resonated with me. Like, oh yeah, I've definitely always wondered, like, when am I going to be found out? Like, ooh, they're going to catch me. Really in terms of what do you do to overcome that? For me, I dig in, I listen, I learn, I ask, I research, I raise my hand, I take on additional responsibilities. Honestly, it's probably borderline obsessive. But that feeling, that kind of desire to figure it out and learn, that kind of being put in the hot seat, it's what keeps me on my toes. And it's uncomfortable. It's also invigorating. It's probably why I continue to take on, those new challenges or problems, or venture into that unknown.
I love that. Listen, learn, and ask, and then take that leap and see where you go from there. I love that advice. That's great advice. Yep. What are some of the experiences or transformational moments in your life?
Like anyone who's had a career lasting more than 5 years, I've certainly had my share of highs and lows, some pretty epic fails where I've had to dust myself off. And, that's often when we learn more about ourselves, is in failure than in success. A great piece of advice and things that I've read are basically to fail fast and fail forward. So that's what I try to do. So I was going to highlight one of the most transformational times. When my youngest daughter was about 18 months old, I filed for divorce. And then within a week of deciding to divorce, my job was riffed. So I was put on job search. So I had 2 young girls looking for a new job, was in a not friendly divorce. And those circumstances, being the breadwinner, also meant selling my house, which is the top 4 of 5 stressors. Because at the same time, I also got pneumonia. That amount of stress made me sick. Yeah. And so during that time period, which was really just hell on earth, one of my yoga instructors shared a thought with me, and it really it stuck with me a long time, today. And she told me that I was burning down the fields and the forest, and out of it would be new healthy growth. And she was right. I survived it. I got a great new job. I established a new home, which was much more happy for myself and my girls. That time period, it was so awful, but I came out of it on the other side just so much more happy, and having gained awareness of my resiliency, what I could take on, and just, how just coming through something like that and looking back on the other side, you're like, wow, I can handle just about anything.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Sometimes it's really hard to be authentic and share our personal side, but I know that that story is going to resonate with someone and give them hope. And I absolutely love what your yoga instructor said, and I'm totally going to make note of that. That's some really great advice.
And it's one of the during that time frame, one of the things that happened, and I've seen this happen since then, like to my husband, we've both gone through job. I mean, in the tech industry, it happens, right?
Mhm.
Um, and well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, and they're giving you all of these what if scenarios. They will just beat you down. You have to take it one day, one challenge at a time to get through a time frame like that, and you will. It's like that type of, and people trying to be helpful, that they can really add to it. And you've got to kind of step back and be like, "Ooh, don't, I can't." You're extrapolating way. If I extrapolate this many experiences and try to solve for all of that, it was just way too overwhelming.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more there. Okay, so what are something that you've learned that you wish you knew maybe earlier in your career?
I love this question. This question kind of cracks me up. Like, if there was one thing you could go tell your former self, there are so many things I would like to tell my former self, but I don't think she'd listen.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Right? Like, you think about when we truly learn, and it's typically when we've experienced it, where, oh, check, the fire's hot. You don't know what hot is until you've stuck your hand in it or near it. Um, I do listen to my mom. Honestly, like my mom gave me so much great advice as a child, as an adult, throughout my life. And if I had embraced some of what she said early on, I think that, I could have made my life easier. At the same time, I don't think I'd really want to change a lot of my experiences or what I've learned. So, I mean, that's kind of a non-answer, but
Yeah, but that's really fair because all those experiences mold who you are today, right? So I hear what you're saying. Like without those experiences, you might not be where you are today. I like to think I'm not gonna, I totally agree with you because then I look back and I'm like, well, if I made um a different choice, like, where would I be? Would I have my daughters? Would I have, you know what I mean? Like all these things lead up to who we are. And now as a mom, like all we could do is try to like go, yes, yes, it's okay. You got to ask questions. You must learn. Like we're just going to do what our moms try to do. And then,
it
their
does crack me up when I hear, my husband say, I told you that would happen. Like, they have to experience it for themselves. One of the pieces of advice that my mom gave me was like, do what you love and the money will follow. Because when I first started college, I started an engineering degree. Like, I'm good at math. I've got science down. Like, this is good. She's like, no, you need to do what you love. I'm like, Mom, you can't make any money in art. Like, that's not. And I ended up not finishing that degree. I went back to school and finished a degree several years later. But I didn't like it. And I ended up actually in technology, which is interesting, but it brought that creativity as well as that analytical ability. They came together really well in the tech industry.
So we're two peas in a pod because that's the advice I give both my daughters. Don't pick a career based on money. That comes. Do what you love because that's just going to bring you happiness and help you in those challenging times, like pursuing what you love versus you're in a challenging time and you don't love your job. You're not, that's going to make that challenge even harder, if not impossible to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I couldn't thank you enough, Rebecca, for sharing your authentic self with us today. And I know that much of what you said is going to resonate with many of our community members. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I love this community. I think it's amazing, all the content that's offered. I'm very happy to be a participant and to share. So thanks a lot, Jackie.
Amazing. All right, Women of the Channel Leadership Network. This was another Woman of the Week. Please do give out some shout outs to Rebecca, and happy Wednesday. And we'll see you next time.